Hey everybody, I'm Michael Posk with PoskFitness. I am still here in quarantine, which feels like day 1000 of the quarantine, which I'm sure you are feeling as well. For today, I want to go through some general health, stretching, getting moving, keeping your body loose. As with any fitness program, consult your physician before you start. But in one of my last videos, I talked about myself. I talked about how I was feeling tightness in my back because of a lack of activity. Things start to tighten and you end up getting pains, aches and pains. So I wanted to talk to you about loosening yourself up. General good practices that should be used even if you feel perfectly fine. These are great stretches, great warm-ups, great things to keep in mind as you move through your exercise program and as we all get back to our regular activities, which hopefully will be soon. So as I mentioned, in my last video, I talked about myself and how I was feeling tight and some lower back pain because of the lack of activity. I talked briefly about how that typically starts in an area that is not your lower back, and because of an imbalance, you start to feel pressure in your lower back. It can cause muscular pressure. The muscular pressure can hit nerves. You can have sciatic pain running down your legs. It can cause any number of things. The important thing is that you start to alleviate that pressure before that nerve pain becomes a problem. And believe me, from personal experience, I can tell you, nerve pain is the worst pain you can feel. I've ripped tendons. You don't want nerve pain. So the more you can get ahead of it and alleviate it before it starts, the better. I talked very briefly about rolling out your feet and how your feet affect various things. Your feet are often the most neglected part of your body, which is kind of interesting since we spend most of our time on our feet. Our feet take a lot of abuse. We roll out things like our quads and our IT bands, but we give no attention to our feet. So I'm going to start right there. I'm going to start with the feet. And I want to also position this as a get out of bed in the morning routine. I've gotten a couple of requests for this. As you start to get older, nighttime, you get nice and relaxed. When you wake up in the morning, it's not super comfy. Everything is stiff. It takes a little while to get moving. Let me ask you if this looks familiar. If that's what you look like getting out of bed in the morning, don't feel bad. That's what I feel like getting out of bed in the morning. But these little things will help, and especially starting with the feet. That will get you moving. And believe it or not, when you loosen up your feet, you may actually become even more flexible through your hamstrings, up through that whole kinetic chain all the way up through your shoulders. So let's start with the feet, and we'll move from there. Okay, so here we are. You just woke up, feeling very stiff, or alternative, you're moving around in the morning and you realize your back is very tight, very stiff, starting to feel some pain, or it's even gotten to the point where you're already having sciatic pain or nerve pain. So you can use anything. This is pretty much your standard lacrosse ball that you can get on Amazon, very cheap. These are called Rad Rounds, which are little balls you can also buy on Amazon. They come in a few different sizes and very handy to use. So I have this focused down at my feet, so excuse me if my head gets cut off, but basically just start seated, roll it around. As you roll it around, you're going to feel hard spots. Sometimes a smaller ball is better because it really hits those hard spots, although I just found one. So I found a spot that kind of hurts. So I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it right there for 30 seconds. You can count in your head, you can use a stopwatch. It doesn't have to be exact, but basically what happens is your brain is sending a signal to certain muscles, certain muscle tissue to contract. When you put the pressure on it, after about 15 or 20 seconds, the brain sends a signal that this is kind of hurting, so I want to stop contracting. And your brain actually stops sending a signal. That's the whole point of rolling with a foam roller or rolling with one of these balls. So you hold it about 30 seconds, and then you continue moving around. You can get down nice and close to the heel. And I'm going to switch to a smaller ball, a little more isolated. If you get down to your heel, you're going to hit more of those things that affect your Achilles. A lot of people, especially over 40, start to get Achilles pain. This can actually help, so roll around right in that area. And you don't need much more than this weight. You can do it standing, but seated is just fine. So in the morning, keep one of these by your bed. Just roll your feet around on it before you get out of bed. I'm willing to bet that even just doing that, you're going to feel better when you hop out of bed and you start moving around. You're not going to be quite as stiff. Make sure you get up into the arch and also up across those toes. It's kind of like the bridge of your hand, right across there. Get it really good. First time you do this, you're probably going to feel a lot of different pain. A lot of spots where you're like, ooh, that doesn't feel so great. Means you need to roll it out more, not less. Okay. As you can see, I always keep a little pack of roller balls close by. If you're lucky enough to have one of these, now this is not really a first thing in the morning thing. This is more if you have that lower back pain and you need to loosen it up. You need to alleviate that pressure. The massage gun is amazing. You'll notice I have on, it's kind of a hard pointy tip. It's a little less forgiving than some of the other ones. But if you really want to get into the muscle tissue, it's a great way to go. Same thing with this one. Use it the same way you did the ball. Just move right around your feet. And it really loosens them up. And again, like I said, if you do this, I bet you're going to find that you are more flexible in your hamstrings. It really works. Okay, we're going to move on. Okay, we're going to move on right up the kinetic chain. So I'm going to move right to your Achilles. I talked briefly about this, but one thing I want you to get used to doing is massaging your Achilles. Pinch it. You may even find just by pinching you actually have some soreness to the touch. Give it a little pinch, roll it around, almost like you're rolling it between your fingers. All the way down and all the way up. Get used to loosening up that tissue. It's an extremely tight tendon. It's very strong, but with anything that's strong, you always run the risk of injuring it or ripping it. I shouldn't say strong, I should say hard. Anything that's hard has the potential to snap. So, massage out those Achilles. And if you have one of these, great. If not, you can use a rolling pin that use for cooking. You can use almost anything. Try to have it in a relatively relaxed position. Just roll it. If you find an area that's hard or that is tender, sore, kind of keep it right on that area. Just push it a little bit. Roll it back and forth. Do both sides. Try to relax it. Roll it around. And I'm moving through this pretty quick. If you were doing this for yourself, if this is just part of your wake-up routine, you can go pretty quick. If you're doing it because you have soreness in your Achilles or because you're trying to fix that lower back, spend a little more time on it. You can do the same thing with a massage gun if you have one. I'm going to move right on to the hamstrings. Again, usually this is usually my problem with my lower back, but a lot of people have tight hamstrings. Work these stretches. Foot's going to go up, and I'm actually going to go low. You don't have to go very high if you square up the hips. So, foot's low. The natural tendency is for those hips to slide away as you bend over, bend down. I don't want you to do that. I want you to keep those hips nice and square, and then just rotate the hips backwards. This is a forward pelvic tilt. But as I said in my last video, best way to describe it in layman's terms, stick your butt out. If you're trying to fix your lower back, hold this stretch for a good minute and a half, 2 minutes. You're going to have to readjust about every 15 seconds. Your hips are going to start to turn. Your brain is going to tell you they're still straight, but you're turning. You're going to have to look down, readjust, resettle, stick your butt back again. Same thing on the other side. Foot is down. Hips are square. Forward pelvic tilt. Now this is just a variation of the hamstring stretch. You're going to feel this in different areas of that hamstring grouping. Typically when you square up the hips, rotate them back, you're going to feel it much higher in your hamstring. I don't want to say that you should never do that classic high school track hamstring stretch, because that's going to hit different muscles. Do that as well. And again, if it's very tight, keep it a minute and a half, 2 minutes. You may, after doing this, 3 hours later, start to feel relief of your back pain. It works that quickly. And then do the other side. And again, this time we're just letting those hips go wherever they want to go. Push yourself down. Again, push the belly button down. It's not so much the reach as it is that belly button going down. So push it down, hold it. Good. After they are nice and warmed up with those stretches, I typically like to do some dynamic stretches. Those are static stretches. Dynamic stretches are when you're actually moving. So we did a little bit of this in the last video, but single leg, balance and reach. Stand on one foot, reach with the opposite hand. Try and keep that back flat. Try and keep those hips square. Reach down, right up. Switch feet, same thing. Back stays nice and straight. I like to think of sliding the hips backwards as opposed to bending over. It tends to put people in better positions. So, right down, hips are square, back is flat, right up. You can do this 15, 20 times. You're going to start to feel it as a workout, as muscular work. That's okay. You're getting blood pumping through those muscles. They're getting looser and looser every time you do it. We're going to talk about gluteus medius, which is another thing that gets tight and pulls on the lower back. The way I want you to think about these lower back, I want you to think about it as two elastics running all the way up through your body, all the way up to your hips. If one elastic is a little bit tighter, it pulls. And that's what's going to affect that lower spine. So, now we're going to be using our foam roller. If you have one, great. If not, I'll show you a little something you can do with your lacrosse ball or tennis ball or whatever you have that is a hard sphere. So to get up in that gluteus medius, the upper glute, cross one leg over the other, ankle at the knee. You're going to rotate a little bit over the side and just roll back and forth. When you find a spot that hurts or feels tender, hold it. Just sit on it. 30 seconds. 30 seconds is a long time when you're doing this. So take your time. Let the muscle release. We are going to do the same thing with the IT band. Just going to roll over onto your side. Hopefully you can see me. I think you can. I like to, when you're in the back, you rotate it a little bit away. As you come forward, you rotate a little bit into it. So you can lay right on that IT band. Move nice and slowly. When you find a spot, again, that's tender or that hurts, hold it. Hold it for 30 seconds until it feels like it has released. And then you can continue to slide back and forth until you find your next spot. And then sit on that one. You will see many, 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 many people doing this. Doesn't really do anything. Do it slow, find that spot, sit on it. If you do have a massage gun, and if you do have very pesky IT bands that don't loosen up, this is great. This will loosen them up. Again, when you find a spot, just sit on it. But this, I find, tends to keep them looser longer than a foam roller does. Same thing on the other side. Right down. If you feel a spot, just hold it right there. The last thing I'm going to go through is the stretch that I actually just did a whole video on, which is a lower back stretch for S1 through 5 and L1 through 5. It's made a huge difference in my life. I went through chronic back injuries from the time I was 17 years old. I was getting ready for my first natural bodybuilding competition. Got a pretty significant back injury. And from that point on, I had chronic back injuries. About 18 years ago, I met with a yoga master, and she taught me this stretch. She taught me a number of stretches, but this stretch in particular made a huge difference in my lower back health. So, again, I have the whole video on this, but again, just to illustrate, cross the legs over nice and tight, opposite hand, right above the knee. You're going to reach Head is relaxed, but looking in that direction. You're going to roll it over to the side. Now the key with a yoga stretch is relaxation. So every time you exhale, I want you to drop the leg a little lower. So it looks like this. How long do you hold it? 3 to 5 minutes. Get comfortable, relax. With any stretching, if you are holding your breath or pushing, you're not stretching. You need to relax to let the muscle stretch. If a muscle is tense, it cannot stretch. So, yoga pose, relax into it, 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, that's all for today. That's a great get moving in the morning. I just got out of bed. I'm going to roll out my feet, start moving for the day, kind of warm up. Or again, if you're having that lower back tightness and you need to loosen it up, those are amazing stretches and techniques to get those muscles to relax so they alleviate pressure, and they alleviate pressure from the nerves that are going through your spine. Very important to do so. Again, consult your physician. If you're having significant back pain, consult your physician. Do your own research, but consult your physician, see where you're at. You could have something very severe going on that needs medical attention, or you could be like me, where the muscles get tight, they swell up around those openings for the nerves, and it creates a lot of pain, So do your research, but stay active, stay healthy, and please stay tuned for more videos. Thank you again for watching, and hopefully you get a lot out of this. I'd love to hear from you, so if you have any comments, questions, anything at all, please feel free to leave them. I will get back to you, and I hope it helps. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.